Today, rather than taking a look at an individual player, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at the entire Giants draft for this year. And Dave Gettleman's first, and he did a phenomenal job with this draft. I can honestly say, for the first time since I guess maybe the Odell Beckham draft, I can actually compliment the New York Giants. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Saquon Barkley. Everyone knows he's the best player in the draft. He's a dynamic running back, and he's a generational talent. But I just want to show two plays specifically just because I think they're just so cool and unique and really good testament to, like, I don't know, just things that are just so highly impressive about him. On this play against Iowa, he comes out, receives the pass, and doesn't have a whole lot of space on the sideline. Joey Jewell's on him. Now, Joey Jewell does not have the highest top-end speed, but he actually ran a very good 20-yard shuttle. He's got good short area explosiveness, and he's Saquon, when he catches this ball, is inside in between the 20s and the sideline, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of space to work with, especially in the fourth quarter when he's already touched the ball for some 300 yards and is tired. And really, this is a tackle Jersey should be able to make, or at least push him out of bounds. And with such a little amount of space against such an explosive player, Saquon's able to make him miss with hardly any amount of yardage and get a first down and get out of bounds. I mean, that is just really a ridiculous play by a player in general. And so, even though everyone knows he's the best player in the draft and everyone's heard it, I just think it's really neat to see something like that. One more fun play for Saquon in the same game. This is earlier in the game. I just love watching this play where Josh Jackson comes to undercut him. He hurdles him. A defender comes in from the side and hits him mid-air. But Saquon keeps his balance entirely and is able to just keep running. I mean, it's just absurd to watch that. When players, they're told not to leave their feet because they lose all balance and control. Saquon leaves his feet. A defender comes flying in, hits him, and it affects the defender. Saquon just lands perfectly fine and keeps on running. I mean, that is just elite balance, elite power. And at 230, he's not necessarily known as a power back, as everyone knows. He's more so used in a shotgun and spread formation, but he has the weight and the power to be able to just run over a lot of people if he so chooses. So this draft pick is obviously amazing and helps the Giants because now they have Odell Beckham and Evan Ingram, and now they have Saquon. And I think some of the theme in the NFL is less about the value of a running back and more about the value of the most explosive player on the field. I mean, you saw it in Todd Gurley. The Rams, when Sean McVay came to town, stopped using him as just a running back and said, hey, this is the most explosive player in the field. I don't care how we use him. We just need to get him the football where there's space. So now, their space is deep downfield, intermediate over the sideline, or in the middle of the field, and now shallow. The Giants have three options of the three parts of the field where they can attack, and they have a really explosive player. So I think this is just a really great pick and helps them move in the right direction. Next, they have Will Hernandez, who I thought was one of the best offensive linemen in the entire draft. I know he only played at UTEP, but he was phenomenal at UTEP, and then he went to the Senior Bowl and absolutely killed it. He's a really aggressive offensive lineman, probably the most aggressive offensive lineman in the entire draft, even more than Alex Kappa. And he just straight up destroys people. I'm going to show some highlights here just right off the bat. The first three, he just flattens defenders. But he's not just a road grading kind of offensive lineman where he paves the way for the run game. He actually, according to Pro Football Focus, was the most efficient pass blocker in the NCAA. So we'll kind of look into why that is as well, because he has great feet and he's a fast player. But a few quick fun highlights. Will Hernandez just destroying that dude. Destroying another dude. And see, here, the best thing about it is he's made this block, the run play's over, and he just wants to keep finishing it. And then this last play here, I actually really like a lot. I think will come in handy for the scheme the Giants will start to want to run. And that's pulling him out. And he's so fast for his big body size, pulls and just is able to make solid contact on space athlete and just blow up this play. And it just kind of shows you that Will Hernandez is really a very complete player and very exciting for the Giants to have drafted. And I'll only show one more highlight of Will Hernandez. And here's the pass protection I was talking about. On this play, he gets beat where right off the snap, the defender crosses his face, and usually this would mean the play's over. Instead, Will Hernandez is able to punch, regather his feet without crossing them over, and step in front of his man and win the block, even though he gets beat off the snap. And that's usually what you want to see from a player, because you're not always going to win off the bat in the NFL, but he had the athleticism against an Oklahoma player who's likely a 5-star recruit to recover after being beat and make a really nice block. And this is just showing, the Giants are getting weapons for Eli Manning, and now they're getting him offensive line help. They did also sign Nate Solder, who's a good run blocking offensive lineman. And so now you have Nate Solder on the left side and perhaps Will Hernandez also on the left side, who will be able to pass block and run block, make space for Saquon and protect Eli. And this is a masterful move, and their offensive line is all of a sudden shored up. It makes them a contender, I feel like, right off the bat, because if you win at the line, you can win, and they have the explosive talent on the outside. They have a quarterback. They really just needed to protect them and give them a second to make a play, and now they have that. Next, we'll talk about Lorenzo Carter, linebacker out of Georgia. The Giants don't typically draft a linebacker, so I guess it was a little surprising, but Lorenzo Carter is an athletic freak. He's 6'5", 250, has 34-inch arms, and he ran a 4.5 40 with a 36-inch vertical. Just an absolute pure athlete. A lot of people loved his athleticism at Georgia, and he was a really high recruit coming out of college or high school, but then didn't quite dominate as much as people expected in college. But he was a great player at Georgia, and he has all the tools to be an absolute monster in the NFL. Now, you wonder what they saw in him to pick him when they're not a linebacker-heavy scheme. I don't know what new kind of scheme they're going to run with their new defensive coordinator, but I can tell you what I think they see in him, and that is an edge rusher. Even though he didn't edge rush in college, he absolutely has the tools to do so. 250 with 34-inch arms. 34-inch arms are an elite length. That's the type of length that you get from like a Bobby Wagner or Zach Cunningham. And what that really allows you to do for someone who doesn't think that's a big deal is that allows you to kind of win in block shedding and to stuff runs and the whole point of attacks. And it also helps in the pass rushing game, because you can use your length to your advantage to control blockers and keep them at bay as you round the corner. He's obviously got the speed to go around the corner at 4.5. It's a shame he didn't run the 3-cone drill to kind of see what short area explosiveness he has, but 4.5, strong athlete, very good in space. Is a solid pick, and he'll be able to be used on the edge, and he'll be versatile because he can rush the passer, he can stop the run, and he can drop back and cover. Now, a lot of the knock on him is that he has a smaller body frame and needs to get stronger. And also, he's more of a straight line mover, less of a bender. But basically the weaknesses that I can translate from this is that it doesn't necessarily mean he can't do it. He just needs to develop. I mean, as every draft pick does. So they're going to add some weight to him, and he should be able to keep his explosiveness. And then they need to develop his technique. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney coming out had absolutely no technique, and he's an absolute monster now. And not that I'm comparing him at all to Jadeveon Clowney. I'm just saying that this kind of thing, that's why he went in the 3rd round. He needs to get developed, and people know that. but that's okay. It can take time, but for the meantime, he can plug and play as a linebacker off the bat, and he will make an impact to start. I won't show too many highlights of Lorenzo Carter, but I do want to show a few that can show how he can use his elite arm length in the NFL. On this play, here's Lorenzo. Notre Dame is actually going to end up running across the side of the offensive line, and they're pulling who many consider to be the best offensive lineman in the whole NFL draft, Quenton Nelson. Quenton Nelson's a smart player, he's technically sound, and he's a very strong player. On this play, as they're right outside, Lorenzo is actually able to use his elite arm length to press inside on Quenton Nelson, and Nelson's actually trying to steal him off for the outside to give the outside running lane, but because Carter has some great arm length, he's able to push him backwards into the lane. Now, I know Quenton Nelson's trying to adjust to be able to completely seal out the outside, but because Carter's able to use his length, Quenton Nelson cannot overcome him, and he's actually able to control him and make it a little harder for him. What this does is push the running back inside, and Carter's able to shed the block now because he has position and make a nice tackle. Now, I know the running back didn't pick the hole that Quenton Nelson was thinking, but at the same time, Nelson could technically bury Carter on that and just maul him. Instead, Carter's got some really nice reach and is able to keep him at bay. It makes it that it's harder for Quenton Nelson to completely round around him to shell off that outside, and it allows him to push him inside, and it's a really good play. One more play showing that his superior arm length helps against Auburn here. He's Braden Smith, and Braden Smith was drafted in, I forget, maybe the 3rd round, but he's a really good player. And in this play, Auburn's running at him, and again, he's at the edge. He's able to hold the point of attack, hold Braden Smith off with his nice length, and even disengage and with his nice reach, strip the ball out from Kerryon Johnson. And I mean, this is just something, it obviously is a really good play, but it's a play made because he's able to have such great length. He can disengage, and he has that advantage on the offensive lineman. He's able to control, and that won't just come in handy against run blocking. That will come in handy in pass rushing when you can control an offensive lineman. One more play from Lorenzo Carter. This is actually a pass rush play against Florida. This play is just really cool because it shows a few things of him. First of all, so here's Lorenzo Carter right here. He's actually being double teamed by the left tackle and the running back. Right off the snap, you can tell you might have been able to see it, but he's using his arm length immediately to shell off the left tackle until he could get to the second level on this running back. Now, he's double teamed on this play, and even though he's not entirely developed as a player, he's very aware, and he knows when you're double teamed, you can't win the double team, so attack one player, attack the weaker. So he attacks the running back here, which is a very smart play. And he has absolutely no technique at all in this, other than the really nice one-arm extension to hold the left tackle off until he got to the second level of the running back. And then he just, because he's so athletic and strong, just bulls over this running back, and the left tackle can't do anything about it because he has no position at all. I mean, the running back, he's attacking the running back who's in the pass rushing lane where the quarterback is dropped back, and the left tackle, all he can do is stick his arms out a little, but he is able to just run over the running back. So he has the awareness to go after one player, and he's able to run over the running back without any technique. So if you think about him translating the NFL, when he polishes his game and learns a little bit more about the pass rush, things like that, he has that athletic foundation. So when you put 2 and 2 together, there's some big promise for him in the NFL. The next pick, moving on, is B.J. Hill. Now, I think a lot of Giants fans were slightly surprised by the pick, considering you have Snacks Harrison and Dalvin Tomlinson. But this pick I think is actually a really solid pick. BJ Hill got is in the shadow a little bit with playing next to Bradley Chubb, but this entire NC State defensive line got drafted, and there's a reason they got drafted. They were a really solid unit. BJ Hill was a very important piece in the middle. Now, to talk about him, this guy is just a really strong dude, and you'll see on this play here at the Senior Bowl practice what I mean by that. But to go back to why they chose a defensive lineman, I think it kind of fits a theme that the NFL wants to go through, and that's getting a lot of good defensive linemen, keep them fresh throughout the game. Now, just like the Giants did it back when they beat the Patriots, and then the Eagles just did it this past year where they had a ton of talent on the line, and they still drafted Derek Barnett, and they were able to rotate their defensive linemen consistently and keep them fresh. What it does is it puts a lot of pressure on the offensive linemen. It counters what the offense can do to try to keep them tired, and it keeps them fresh for a pass rush. So I think even though you have good defensive linemen, enough of them, I think that was the logic behind this pick. Now on this play, it kind of shows you how strong BJ Hill is. This is against elite level talent at the Senior Bowl. He just destroys the offensive lineman. This isn't the only time he's done this. He does this pretty much the whole Senior Bowl. Now, he doesn't really show up as much in games, so there's a slight concern, but he is able to show this one-on-one in the Senior Bowl consistently, and he's just a really strong guy. And when you watch some other tape, he's great at taking on double teams, and he's just kind of like a Snacks Harrison type draft pick. So Snacks, I forget how old he is, but at some point BJ Hill can not only rotate in and spell him, but maybe eventually can replace him for a cheaper price. We'll show one more play from the Senior Bowl practices. This is again BJ Hill going up, just showing his power. On this play, he just destroys this guard. And this guard, Cole Madison, Washington State, being drafted in the 5th round by the Green Bay Packers. But if you can see, he's, in the one play against the center, you could say he won so quickly, it was hard for the center to gain his leverage. But here you see Cole Madison is in great position, has leverage, and gets his hands on him first with his feet planted, and he still just backs him back 5 yards. I mean, how fast he moves him back, even with position and leverage, is just incredible. So what you're really getting is a nice, strong player for New York, and it's just another player to help against the run that we all know Dave Gettleman likes to draft the players that can stop the run and win up front. And again, yet another pick that does that. Moving on to the next player, Kyle Lauletta, quarterback out of Richmond. I don't think a lot of people know about this guy and might be a little confused as to why he chose it and who he is and all that. So out of Richmond, he got invited to the Senior Bowl and blew up the Senior Bowl. This kid was ridiculous. I can't remember if he won MVP or not, but I'm just going to run his Senior Bowl highlights so you can see what he did at the Senior Bowl and just talk to a little bit I know about him. He's super athletic in terms of his mobility. If you look at his combine workout, I think his 40 and his 3-cone and his 20-yard shuttle were all really athletic, actually, and actually beat out some running backs. So from a mobility perspective, he's very gifted. Now, his arm strength isn't necessarily the best. It's good enough to win in the NFL, but it's not elite. But that's okay. There's plenty of quarterbacks, again, in the NFL that don't have that arm talent and are very successful, even Kirk Cousins. But this kid's actually really athletic and mobile, very talented, and he can throw the football. Now, he's very efficient. He's a very smart player, cerebral, and on top of it, he's very accurate. Now, I think I heard a Pro Football Focus say that he was the most efficient quarterback in the entire NCAA in the draft, that is. in the intermediate passing game, so between 10 yards and 19 yards. And this kind of reminds me of, I guess, what you're thinking about in terms of a Case Keenum and what he did in Minnesota with the Vikings. And now Pat Shurmur has this kid, a smart kid, very accurate intermediate wise, and can make a lot of throws. And Pro Football Focus, if you want to compare him to other quarterbacks, specifically quarterbacks Giants have, Davis Webb, they've rated this kid better than Davis Webb. And I even watched a video where I heard them discuss how they wanted to say that he's better than Josh Allen, but they didn't. But they wanted to. And I mean, his Senior Bowl performance was phenomenal. To learn the playbook as early as he did, or as quick as he did in 1 week, and throw for the 3-4 touchdowns that he did. I mean, you can see here he is deadly accurate, and he knows what's going to happen with the play and where to go with the football, and he can make the throws. So this is actually a really, really sneaky pick by the Giants, because a lot of people were surprised that he didn't necessarily. Oh, there he goes. He did win the most outstanding player of the game. A lot of people were surprised, though, they didn't go with Sam Darnold at 2 and with Saquon. I think a lot of us can understand why they went with Saquon. But here, I mean, again, not saying that Kyle Lauletta is Sam Darnold by any means, but he's a really good player, and, you know, he can absolutely replace. Well, I can't say that. I'm not going to say that he can absolutely replace Eli Manning, but he has the potential to develop into a starting quarterback in the NFL. So to get him in the 4th round, it's a great value pick. It's a great investment, and it could actually work out for the Giants. And the final pick for the Giants is R.J. McIntosh, D-tackle out of Miami. I think this pick goes a lot along with what the B.J. Hill logic pick was, except he's a different type of player. You can see, here's R.J. McIntosh right here. I'll run some highlights while I talk about him. He's more of a penetrating defensive tackle. You see he's really quick off the snap. B.J. Hill's more of a power guy, take on the double team, walk back the guard, collapse the pocket. And R.J. McIntosh is more of a penetrating defensive tackle, not so much of a power guy. But I think he's going to be more useful from short perspective, running the ball in terms of penetrating, and then obvious pass rush situations. So he's going to be, it seems to me when I watch him play, he's more of a sub-package kind of guy, whether it's a obvious run play where he can shoot a gap, or an obvious passing down where he can try to rush the pass rusher a little bit. He's not a great pass rusher by any means, but he can do it. But as you can see in these highlights, his strength is truly penetrating against the run game. So an obvious run plays and against certain teams and certain run schemes, he can fit in there and play and penetrate depending on where they think the run's going. And he's a good draft pick from that regard. And to wrap up what I think about this draft class, I think in his first year, Dave Gettleman hit the draft out of the park. And adding Saquon and Will Hernandez, you add a 3rd layer of explosiveness to the offense. It's going to be pretty hard to game plan, whether you want to throw the ball deep, over the middle, run the ball, or throw it shallow. It's going to be very hard for a defense to figure out where to devote its resources. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you get an edge setter and Lorenzo Carter come in right away and play, and then hopefully develops into a pass rusher as well. And then you have B.J. Hill and R.J. McIntosh that can be sub-package players and help at least spell some of their starting defensive line to keep them playing well and fresh into the 4th quarter. And finally, you have Kyle Lauletta, who doesn't have superior arm talent by any means, but has a lot of great traits. He's fast, he's accurate, he's efficient, and there's a lot of promise in him. And it's really all you need in the NFL. I would never knock you for not having a superior arm. As long as you can comprehend the game fast and make accurate throws, that's all that an offense would need from you. And it could be one of those things where there's a lot of intrigue. They draft him and they either develop him enough to play him in like a Week 16 game like a Matt Flynn, and he has a huge game, and then You can trade him for value, or you can develop him into a true starter and he's your future. So, all in all, the Giants, I think, have become a contender to win the NFC East. Not that they're better than the Eagles, but they're a true contender and have done a wonderful job.